What's up guys, it's your favorite Kiwi coach and give me 6 months of your time and I'll give you the best golf swing of your life. So welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we're going to be reacting to a video from Athletic Motion Golf. They're an American YouTube channel, most notably known for having a gear system and doing some pro versus am videos discussing certain topics. This particular video, they're going to be discussing the differences between a professional golf swing and amateur golf swing when it comes to clearing the hips on the downswing. As well, they talk about moving the hips on the backswing as well. So if you're interested in how the hips move, pro versus am, this is the perfect video for you, and let's go ahead and jump in. But before we get into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Kiwi Golf Japan. If you did not know, YouTube does not pay the bills. So if you don't want to have the Kiwi coach broke on the streets, well, please sign up for the Kiwi Platinum membership after this video is over. There'll be a link down below. It really helps support this channel. And now let's go talk about the hips.
The lower body pivot is a big issue for a lot of golfers, and inside of that, it's mainly a hip depth issue that we see quite often. And we're looking at a gears image here with the bones feature turned on. And this faint white line at the bottom is a vertical pane of glass that gears puts right down behind it.
All right, so let's stop it there and start to break down the video for you. So currently right now, they're looking at an amateur golf swing. And the main point of the video is they're talking about how the lower body pivot in the backswing and the downswing with the amateur golfer is drastically different than the pro swing. And most notably, the main issue we're seeing a lot of amateur golfers have is in the downswing, they actually start to move the overall butt away from this line that gears has down here, which just means that the whole body is moving closer and closer in towards the golf ball, which means there's less and less space for the hands and arms to travel within. And then ultimately what happens is the whole body starts to extend to try to create that space, try to back away from the ball to try to create the space for the hands and the arms. So the point here is we're trying to figure out, relative to kind of this left hip, right hip movement and the overall center of the spine movement, what is the differences in the backswing between the amateur and pro, and then also the downswing as well? Can we try to figure out why the amateur golfers are having that move where they move in closer to the golf ball? What are the direct correlating body parts? So now that you got the overall structure of the video, let's go ahead and jump ahead to where they start to break down this amateur golfer, taking a look at the left hip, center of spine, and right hip, and see the amateur golfer movement in the backswing.
And the right hip, and then we're going to trace the center of his spine. And we just put a crosshair here to reference where he's starting at. And then we're going to...
All right, let me stop it there before they start to actually move this player. So the first thing I want you guys to really take note of is going to be the left hip. I want you guys to take a look at the overall distance that the left hip travels. Look at the overall length of it. And then also I want you guys to take a look at the overall direction the left hip is moving towards as well, because this will be a big difference between the pro and am swing. Then from there, take a look at the right hip movement, same thing. Take a look at the overall distance that it has traveled, and then also the overall direction as well. And then last but not least, the center of the spine. Because the left hip and right hip moved a certain way, you're also going to see the center of the spine move a certain way, which is much different than the pro swing as well. Let's go take a look at it in action.
We're going to track that to where he winds up at impact. So if we get him moving, we're going to see our yellow line here represents his left hip. It's tracing the left hip joint. The green line is tracing his right hip joint. And that pink line is tracing the center of his spine there. So as we can see, as he gets to...
All right, let's stop it there. So now this player is at the top of the swing. So again, you guys have no reference to what is good and what is bad with both of these hip movements. So again, just take note of the distance that the left hip has traveled, the overall length of that, and then the overall direction, kind of the angle that it took from setup to the top of the swing. Same thing with this right hip here. Take a look at the overall distance that is traveled as well as the direction that it has traveled towards. And then now let's take a look at the center of the spine and notice how it's kind of moved off its original point. And now it's actually a little bit closer to the golf ball. These are all really important points. Once we start to take a look at the professional golf swing, you're going to see a massive difference between the two. So let's go ahead and take a look at that pro golfer swing.
The same way we did our amateur golfer. We can see already how much more active the right hip is compared to what we saw with the am. So the right hip's moving a little bit back and really kind of sweeping around towards the target. Left hip is going more forward.
All right, let's stop it there. So now we have the pro at the top of the swing. So again, take a look at the overall distance that the left hip has traveled from setup to the top of the swing. The overall distance with the pro swing is much, much shorter than it was with the amateur swing. And then the overall direction is a little bit more out towards the golf ball, where the amateur golf swing is a little bit more angled off to the side. And then again, the distance it's traveled is much longer. That's a big key point there. Now, if we take a look at the right hip as well, it's massively different from the amateur swing as well. The amateur swing was going directly back at first, and then actually moved away, and then started to move back towards the golf ball. If we take a look at the professional swing, we're seeing it going actually away and back initially, and then it starts to arc back towards, kind of parallel to the target line. And this is actually getting the overall center of the spine to stay much more centered at its original spot from setup, right? So it hasn't shifted towards the golf ball and away from the golf ball like it was in the before swing with the amateur golfer. So this is going to be the pro swing, really important with this backswing. Some other notable things I'm going to take a look at here as well. Take a look at the overall elbow position right here. So this would be the elbow. Take a look at it relative to kind of the rib cage, which is over here. And then also take a look at the knee relative to this ankle, this left ankle right here. Take note of this, and then let's go compare it really quickly back to the amateur swing, because I think this is something they didn't really talk about in the video, but also a big key point that's going to allow you to not early extend as well. So let's go take a look at the amateur golfer at those points as well. All right, so now we're back with the amateur golfer. Again, let's go take a look at the elbow joint right now and take a look at how much closer it is to the rib cage with the amateur golfer. And then also take a look at this knee and look how far away it is from the ankle bone with the amateur golfer compared to the pro golfer. So yes, I think the hip movement is definitely having a direct correlation to what the knee is doing as well. But oftentimes, just focusing on the knee movement I've found in lessons can also really help what they're trying to talk about with the hip motion between the two as well. The main thing here is if you move your hips this way to where the length of the left hip movement is very long and kind of off to the side here, and then the right hip is kind of going back and then away and then out, that's going to get the pressure way out towards the toes, which means that your overall center of spine is out towards the golf ball, which means you have little space. And this is going to really increase your chances to start to early extend. So now that you guys kind of get the idea of the overall backswing and what is occurring between the pro versus the am, now let's start to get into the downswing and you can really start to see that early extension move with the amateur golfer. All right, that's it for you guys on YouTube, but before you guys click off, let me give you some quick wrap-up points. So when it comes to the differences between the pro swing and the amateur swing in the hip movement, I really think that the left hip and right hip movement overall is a big, massive difference, and you clearly saw that in this video. So I think the big thing that a lot of amateur golfers are currently trying to do is maybe they're trying to hit the golf ball further, so they're trying to churn the hips more. But what they're focusing in on is trying to get the left hip to move a greater distance. Maybe if they're not even trying to do that, but that's what they're doing. And then ultimately what that makes the right hip do is move a shorter distance and then also the incorrect direction. Ultimately moving the center of the spine closer to the golf ball, setting you up to early extend on the downswing. So the better thought, the better way to go about this is focusing in on that right hip movement, have it go a little bit away from you and then behind, and then start to arc back parallel to the target line. And that should keep the center of spine a little bit more at its original address position. And then from there, you're going to find that you have a lot more space for the hands and arms to travel in, and you're probably not going to have as good of a chance to early extend. So if you guys are still struggling with this, well, make sure to check out the Kiwi Coach 6-month program. There'll be a link down below. Also, if you want to watch this full video, sign up for the Kiwi Platinum membership. It really supports this YouTube channel. And other than that, like, comment, subscribe, share, and I'll see you guys in the next video.